Let's go.
Good evening, everyone, and a very warm welcome to the live lounge. Oh, wait a minute. I've got something open somewhere, I think. Or have I? Wait a minute. I can hear something go. Good evening, everyone, and a very warm welcome to the live lounge. Yes, brilliant, everyone. We'll be with you in a second. Something open somewhere, I think. We've got. Or have I? Wait a minute. I can hear something go. I genuinely can't find where the other noise is coming from right now. Good evening, everyone, and a very warm welcome to the live lounge. Yes, brilliant, everyone. We'll be with you somewhere, I think. We've got. I can hear something go. I genuinely can't find where the other noise is coming from right now. Good evening, everyone, and a very warm welcome to the live lounge. Yes, everyone. Can you hear the echo? We've got.
Yes, mate.
Yeah.
Right, I think it might be one of you. One of you guys got something open.
No.
No.
Can you hear the echo?
There we go.
I've just muted my audio, and I think it might be one of you guys got something open. I've just muted it, and I can still hear it.
No, when you mute, it stops for us.
Yeah, it does.
Can you hear the echo? This is weird.
There we go.
I've just muted my audio, and I can.
No, it's gone again.
Right, I've just muted it, and I can still hear it.
No, when you mute, it stops for us.
I literally can't.
Yeah,
And there we have it, I think.
Yeah.
There we are. Get there in the end. I'll tell you what it was. Do you know what it was that I couldn't find? I had last week's link still open, as in the one that we log into. I hadn't closed it. I was like, I've shut everything. Anyway, welcome along, everyone. We got there in the end, you know. Sunday night, and it was all a little bit different. Mondays were nice and structured, but here we are. Welcome along. How are we? A new day, because we don't want to clash with the Premier League. The Disco Lounge, yeah. Welcome everyone in the chat room. Sorry about the few minutes delayed start. Of course, I'm Phill Bars, joined by Jack Gobby Garwood, and today we've got Lee Boyce because Jarla's playing with his train set again. We'll go with that one. We'll go with that line. Excited for the Premier League return, gentlemen?
I am, you know. It's been a bit of a down week. I haven't really done or spoken a lot, Dars, to be honest. But yeah, it exceeded my expectations a little bit for the first 5 nights. We pretty much thought that this Premier League was going to be the most on paper before event you've ever seen, and it hasn't come across that way, and we're in for a good couple of nights again, I think.
Yeah, you, Lee?
Yeah, totally agree with Dob. I think we spoke about it last week. Dob, around we had our top 4. It was 4 of 5. We had the bottom 2 was of 3, but it hasn't worked out that way at all. And looking ahead already to night 6, and some of the games are absolutely huge. So I can't wait for it to start. we're looking forward to it. And obviously we have this big week and then straight into a Super Series. So looking forward to, after a week off of darts, to get straight back into seeing all the action.
Yeah, definitely. We'll come on to the games and that in a minute, but literally, you touched on it there, Lee. Tomorrow night is going to shape the rest of the Premier League. Those opening 2 matches, which we'll touch on in more detail in a minute, could shape the destiny of who goes down. They are absolutely huge.
Yeah, massive night tomorrow. Looking at the fixtures, such a big night, and the opening, like I says, the first 2 games are going to be crucial to the final standings on Thursday.
Yeah, 100%. Before we get cracking, everyone in the chat room, welcome along. Missy Mad is there as always. Gary, Dave, welcome. Stuart, Jonathan, Kieran, Rachel's in as always. Matthew, Mark, Niall, have I missed anyone? All the normal suspects. Daniel, Carl, welcome aboard, everyone. Like we say, we changed, and we were going to go at 8 o'clock, but I'm not a huge TV fan, as the rest of the guys in the group know, and apparently there's something that quite big that starts at 8 o'clock or something, so we've gone early.
9 o'clock.
Let's see that this is what it is.
The biggest British TV show ever.
I just don't watch TV.
That's the only thing I watch, mate. That's how I know it's that big.
A lot of talk about Glenn in the chat room. We'll come on to him in a minute, but he doesn't want the Webster, shall we say? Doesn't want the 8. But just gonna change this one up. So there we all are. We're getting Missy says EastEnders.
No. So Line of Duty.
Before we get into the games, there is the table as it stands. The Ferret is out on top with 7 points. Dimitri van den Berg, Nathan Aspinall, Michael Van Gerwen, Peter Wright, all on 6 points. Rob Cross, James Wade, Gary Anderson on 5, Jose de Souza on 4, and Glenn Nilpois. After 5 nights, gentlemen, how would you assess the class of 2021, and if you were grading them, who gets top marks?
I think top marks have to go to the top 2. I think that's pretty obvious. Johnny Clayton has been exceptional. It took a very, very good performance from Peter Wright to pinch a point off him. The night that he lost, he wasn't great. I'm trying to find out which night it was because it's been a while. When he lost to Rob Cross, and he was a little bit flat, but he could be forgiven for one night off in 5, especially in his first campaign. But a lot of talk pre-event was, can he continue his form into this? And I think he's been superb. Dimitri, exactly the same. He is an enigma in the sport in that his stage game is just so much better than his floor game. A lot of the talk for years about Dimitri is he's got to perform on the floor to get to these stage events and then he can pick things up. I don't think that needs to happen anymore because he's positioned himself so well in the world rankings that even if he never wins a Pro Tour in his life, he's going to earn a serious amount of money and be seriously competitive in the televised events. He's been solid. So those 2 are my A grades. Aspinall, a solid B or a C, I think. He's still got an extra gear. He scrapped out a little bit. Van Gerwen, this is going to be a bit harsh, but I'm going to give him a D already. And this is only position number 4. I think there are players below that are going to have a better letter than Van Gerwen, who is currently in 4th. I think he's there on legs 1, I think, in the end, after you work out the points and the legs difference and whatever. I don't think he's been that great. He had the 107 average, in which he was superb. But there's such a distance between his performances at the minute. He had the 107, 108 performance where it was absolutely ridiculous. He had another where he averaged 100. He had 2 where he's barely getting to 90. And that's the issue. He's been so inconsistent. he's just going to give them up. I'll let Lee grade the rest of the field.
Well, but I think you're being a bit harsh on Aspinall as well. He was someone who I didn't expect to see in that top 4 to lose, I think, in night 2. He's then done a good run, his last performance. I think Aspinall is probably the one who surprised me and would be an A grade out of those. But then I agree with the Johnny Dimmy up there, obviously. MVG, I'm with you. I know Phil thinks you're being a bit harsh, but I'm with you. I think the level of MVG hasn't been. And I know we had a good debate when we was talking about the people who we think are going to be in trouble. And I know you mentioned a certain name, Dob, that you thought might be, which I still remember. But yeah, then for me, Peter Wright, Rob Cross. Cross are probably around CD, that sort of. Peter Wright.
I've been quietly surprised with Cross, Cross for me is and will continue to play the role of the spoiler. I don't expect Rob Cross to win the Premier League title. I don't think he's got that extra gear at the minute to kick on, but he's finding a very, very solid base. And if this is his B or a C game, or even if it's his A game, he has made himself very, very difficult to beat at the minute. He's growing in confidence again. He's picking up wins against the big names that he just wasn't getting anywhere near last year. And he looks a bit more solid. The action, there's less. Don't get me wrong, the action is still not perfect. But I don't think anybody's action is perfect. But there are less of the draggy, horrid darts. There are less of the size to nobody. I want to see a little bit more emotion. But again, it's difficult to see that from him when you're losing constantly. The wins will keep increasing the confidence, and then we'll start seeing that arm shake that he does, and the confidence and the boost and that little bit of emotion and that little bit of swag when he genuinely believes he can go on and pick up more points and wins.
Yeah, I think the interesting
one to that, Dob. Go on, Phil.
Go on, Lee. No, go on, mate. Go
all I was going to say is, for me on the Cross one, I think he's someone as well who's benefited from having the first 5 games back to back. I think that has helped Cross.
Yeah.
I think we've seen a better Cross because of that. And actually, if we'd have had 5 nights of Thursdays in the normal Premier League world, I don't think Cross would have as many points as he has. I actually think that's benefited him. What we're going to see from Cross in his first game back, for me, will have an impact on if he survives or not, because it's a huge game for him, as it is for many of them. But for me, I think the stop of play won't help Cross, where it might with some of the others, because he's benefited from that run of 5.
The interesting one for me in all this, and I'm going to, this might not come across how it's meant to, but it's a backhanding compliment. Is Jose turning into the new Mensur Suljovic? And
I think so.
I
don't know exactly where you go with it. Mensur's first season, he played so well, but did not win a game.
Yeah, and Mensur won his major, got into the Premier League, played some great stuff, and somehow couldn't win a game. And Jose's going the same here. He's got a tournament average of a ton, yet he finds himself in the bottom 2.
I think that win against Dimitri on the final night was massive. If he doesn't pick that up, there was a glimmer, there was a moment as well where Dimitri started to fight back a little bit, and you thought, hang about, if Jose wobbles here and doesn't get at least a point, but if not the 2 that this match deserves, he's in a world of trouble. But he came through it. He's been solid. He's experienced it all on that stage now for the first week. I think he'll reset, will be in a stronger position coming back into this week. And he needs to start brightly, given the fixture as well. Is another one of those 6 to 9 all playing each other in the first 2 games are absolutely massive.
Yeah, and we'll come on to that now, because all eyes heading towards Judgment Night, where 2 players are eliminated, and I think we're all in agreement that Glenn isn't going to win all 4 games, so will be eliminated. Correct?
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah,
it's horrid, it's harsh, but he is a fabulous person, but his form just isn't there at the minute. And I think it would almost be cruel on him if he had to continue further on, if he was to sneak in, because I just don't think another 8 weeks of this would do him any good at the minute.
Yes. So someone said, great picture of Price. Yeah. Ironically, he is on the graphic for the for pictures. Right. So, Judgment Night, we lose 2. And like we said in the intro to this, the first 2 games of night 6, I think, potentially shape the rest and who goes down. So, first up, Rob Cross against Gary Anderson. Now, I worry for Gary. Don't get me wrong, he could go up and average 107. But what we saw in the first 5 nights, it was patchy. He was either sublime or couldn't hit anything.
I think that's a bit harsh. Again, there were signs with Gary that the action was getting a little bit better. At no point in any of the 5 nights, though, did I ever look at him and think he looks comfortable. He looks like Gary, that is a 2-time back-to-back world champion and picked up titles whenever he fancied clicking his fingers, because the man's got that much talent. But he was still throwing 96, 97 averages when it looked bad. And that's a good thing. Like, he's still grinding out to that level, and he's just a moment away from clicking before going berserk. That's a good sign for him. The bad sign for him is that this scrappy match potentially comes on the first night back. And as we've seen in these blocks over the last year, where Gary's cut back on his practicing away from basically being at venues, he can't afford to start slowly.
No, well, my problem with Gary's game was it's never the scoring. At times, he never, ever looked as if he was going to hit tops. And that's his MO. He loves tops, hates 10s. So if he's nowhere near tops, that's the issue.
Yeah. What I find very strange with Gary is that, for me, he hasn't looked very good. He's finishing wise, but to see him on 40% does surprise me. I don't think it very surprised me that his checkout percentage for the tournament so far is 40%, and it doesn't feel like it's anywhere near that from what it's been like. But it's huge. It's absolutely huge because of his set of fixtures after it as well. Is that if he doesn't get a win against Tross, he then needs to get something out of MVG, Dimmy or Asp. So for me, it's absolutely a bigger day for Gary Anderson than it is for Rob Cross. And what an opener.
Yeah, and then off the back of that, and I say this is why these 2 fixtures shape it, Jose against James. Again, absolutely huge, because if James wins, then there's a gap between him and the bottom 3. But if Jose can get something, again, with the fixtures coming up, Wadey could have a problem. Gob, I know he's your boy, but is this almost must win?
That is the issue. And this is absolutely must win for James. Look, don't get me wrong, he beat MVG, and he looked pretty good in doing so, but his slow start has put him under pressure. He loses to Jose, he gets sucked in below him, I think, actually, and at that point, he's then got to go and get a result, or better, whatever Jose does, against Dimmy, Clayton, and Peter Wright, who are, at the minute, the 3 best players in this competition. Don't get me wrong, Aspen's been superb. I think Snakey was put off by the 2 nights where he wasn't quite up to it, didn't feel very well. Other than that, I think he's been absolutely superb. The game against Johnny just set the Premier League off completely to start. I don't see Wade getting points against any of them. It would be very James Wade to go and do so, but at the minute, if you've got to go and beat the 3 best players in the league at the minute, in my opinion, to go and guarantee your safety, you're under pressure a lot.
100%. So before we look at the rest of it, those 2 games shaping it all, who wins those 2 opening games, in your opinion, boys?
I'll go first.
Throw enough, Lee, and eventually something will stick.
I knew that was coming. I knew it was coming. I think Anderson takes the first one. Cross is the one for me. I think's in danger. Like, as we've already spoke about Durrant, I don't think Durrant will pick up a point, which means for me, if Cross beats him, I believe Cross has not done it in the last game. Just looking at the, yeah. So for me, I think Anderson gets the win, but just.
So Anderson beats Cross. What about Wadey de Souza?
Sorry, Dob. Well, actually, no, you'll be happy with this. I'm going to say Jose, and you know my predictions, so I'm going to say Jose. Yeah,
Gob, for you, who wins the two?
I'm going to say draw in the first game. I think Gary's scoring is heavier than Rob's at the minute. I think Rob's finishing and his scrapping and his ability to stick in there at the minute will pinch a point. The second game, it's all on Jose. If his scoring turns up the way it has done so far in this Premier League, his first 9 average has been through the roof. I genuinely think James will struggle to pick up 2 points. He might be able to sneak a point. He'll genuinely struggle to pick up 2 points. The difference between the next 4 nights and the first 5 nights is James knows he's here. James knows he's in this event and knows he's there to contend now. I don't think he had the best preparation. You look at significant dates in his life as well during the first week, contradicted with some of his performances. That's not happening this week. So I'm going to back Wadey to get over the line in this one and set up the next 3 nights really nicely.
Oof. Then from there, the rest of the night, leader Johnny Clayton against Dimitri van den Berg, battle at the top. That could shape the destiny of the top 4. I don't think you can lose your place in there, but they have a big say on shaping it. Gob, the winner of this one.
Definitely.
And then from there, Glendarren against MVG. Lee, is this a good game for both players? And I mean this in that Michael can come back in against Glenn, who is bottom, and Glenn can come into a game where he's expected to be beaten. So maybe the pressure's off.
Yeah, and I know with the Glen one, I think once it's mathematically impossible for him to get out of the relegation, I think we'll see a more relaxed and better Glen. Still not sure he will do enough to win games, but I think, obviously down into MVG, I don't think he can get relegated after Monday, but can Tuesday if he loses both, and depending on other results.
I think results would have to go that way. At worst, it's Wednesday, so the final night is free, basically.
So the final night, final night would be, and I think we'll see a better length as the week goes on, with pressure off, and I think it is a bit with the MVG one. It's a good game for MVG. I think with MVG, possibly with results down his way, would be able to move on to the top of the league, and I think with a win, I will see him push on there. I really think we'll see an improved MVG. Not saying he was bad, but I agree with Dob earlier saying he was around a C, but I do think we'll see a better MVG this week.
And then Aspinall against Wright last on. That'll be a cracker. Before we look at the rest of the nights, a couple of questions in the chat room which are relevant, which we'll answer now because they could wipe this all out. If someone tests positive tonight, tomorrow morning, they will be removed from the tournament and no replacement will come in. Their results will be removed and it's effectively then one person will only get relegated. So that's how that works, if that makes sense. And I suppose I'm just playing devil's advocate here, and I wouldn't wish this on anyone whatsoever, but if only one goes down, Glenn's great escape could happen.
Possibly. Depends who the one is.
Yeah.
It depends entirely who the one is. But yeah, it would make things at the bottom a little bit tighter if points are dropping off, as is the case. So
yeah,
look, I want Glenn to play with a freedom this week as if he is already down. And anything else from there is a bonus, because he is a fantastic dart player. He's quite clearly been struggling with different form, but there's been a lot of commentary about him struggling for form. And I think when that's all you're hearing, when that's all you're seeing, when you've lost working from home, when you're not on your own social media accounts anymore, which then became a distraction after he stopped working, his literal focus, I keep coming back to this, his literal focus is on darts and improving that performance. And I just think he's trying too hard now. He tinkered with a couple of things, just desperately searching to get back to where he was. And for me, he's probably trying too hard now. And I just want him to come and play the next 4 nights with an absolute freedom of playing on TV in the Premier League as the reigning champion. And if you're going to go out swinging. Don't go out trying to push darts and forcing it and getting mad at yourself. Take the 85s, take the 100s, building it for the next visit. Stop worrying about the odd loose dart. You can still pick up results. You can still pick up legs. You can still put pressure on people. It's not over once you throw a bad visit. And I think that mentality has dropped in a little bit on Glenn at the minute. If he has one bad visit, sees himself drop behind a little bit in the leg, I don't think he's got that belief where he can fight back, or he believes he can then chuck in a 140 to put himself back in the leg. And that's the key difference. I just want him to play with that freedom this week, where just open your arm up, make sure the release is spot on, and have a go at it, basically.
Yeah, just before we move on to night 2, people are asking, because we've obviously thrown that scenario up and we don't want anyone to do it, but if Gary or James were to test positive, obviously they both beat Glenn, so their results would come off. So that would put them either 1 to 3 points. Then Glenn's only 2 games away from overtaking one, instead of having to win all 4.
Mm-hmm.
So just people asking in the chat room what the scenario is. So it's basically Glenn needs someone that he's played to do it, so the points all come off.
Yeah.
But moving on.
But look, we don't wish that on any of the players. It would be a logistical nightmare. We've already seen it once. You can't replace, and that's why Price couldn't then play in this second phase, right? We said that at the time, and there was a lot of talk about pushing it back and then doubling up, etc., etc. But because of the risk of players returning and then somebody else testing positive, to bring somebody else back in to double up and drop someone else out would just be an absolute logistical nightmare. So that's why he had to be replaced to start with. Can't happen now because so many fixtures have been played. Fingers crossed it doesn't happen, that the players have kept themselves at reasonable risks for the last week, knowing that the second phase of this event is coming up. And we'll find out by about 11 o'clock tomorrow, I guess.
Right, yeah. Moving on. Night number 7. A couple of real standout ties in this. I mean, we're not going to go through every game because we'll be here for ages, but the 2 standout ones, Aspinall Clayton, MVG Anderson, are we agreed on night 7?
Yeah. Yeah, for me. Yeah, that was the 2 standout for night 7.
I don't know. Depends on how the results go the night before, doesn't it? Like, if Wadey comes back in firing the night before, him versus Peter Wright would be close because Snaky could get dragged back in again. If he's played Asp the night before, if he's searching for results to try and push on to be in that top 4. MVG Gary is the one that everybody looks for on paper pre-season. It's like Liverpool, Man United. It's like your local team's big derby. It's the one that you'll look for. You want to know when it is. And that is still very much the case in this Premier League. Let's just hope it doesn't disappoint.
Yeah, 100%. The El Clasico of darts last up. Moving on, night number 8. This is where it all starts getting a little bit twitchy down the bottom of the table. And just looking at it, Lee, what would your standout from night 8 be?
probably. See, it's a situation that Anderson's in at this point, but the Anderson Dimmy one, and then Wade, Clayton. I'd go Anderson Dimmy if I was just picking the one, but like I said, it's going to be interesting to see where Anderson is currently sitting in the table from that 9 to 8.
Yeah, agreed. Gob, for you, 9-8. What's taking you?
9-8. I like Cross Aspinall. I think that will be an absolute scrap. I'm not guaranteeing you 106 averages each. I'm guaranteeing you somewhere between 95 and 100 and a good double percentage. That one will be won by the odd haymaker of a big ton plus checkout, and they're both more than capable of it. I really like the look of that as a matchup. And Van Gogh and D'Souza, it's not very often that we see Van Gerwen outscored comfortably. And on current form, Jose is a man who can do that. We normally see Van Gerwen jump out to big leads and legs. He uses a lot of the board. He's very, very comfortable, very, very adept at using all the segments, trying to set up legs from the very, very first start, depending on where it goes. But Jose's pure power scoring will put him on the back foot. And it'll be interesting to know if he's got that fight because, all right, that will be night 8 by then. Don't expect him to go down. Although if the unthinkable happens and he loses to Glendoran on night 6, I think there's a chance. But I don't expect it to happen. And it'll be interesting to know if he's got that in his locker, if he's up for that fight constantly. Because we've seen it a couple of times, but we've also seen no response from him whatsoever a couple of times.
And then Judgment Night. This is always a touchy subject. Sometimes it matters, sometimes it doesn't. Do we think, before we look at the relevant fixtures, do we think it is going to be Judgment Night and something on it, or is the damage already done?
I think it goes down to the wire. I'm not necessarily, not sure it gets to the final game, perhaps. But I just think there's those 4 players that you mentioned that play each other games 1 and 2, Cross, Anderson, D'Souza, Wade. I don't think 3 of them pull away from the other one in the first 3 nights. So it means it's still on. It's just, does it get to the final game, if you get what I mean? But it would not surprise me. Well, just don't expect those 5 fixtures to be played in that order. Because if they mean something and you've got dead rubbers to start with, they will leave the relegation battles till the very end. So that every possible outcome is still on for every single player.
Oh, yeah, 100%. That at the moment, that's the schedule. But that could quickly change depending on what's on it. 100% agree with you. So, 4 nights to go. You know what's coming. Who gets eliminated from the 2021 PDC Premier League, gentlemen?
I think it's Wade. And it kills me to say it, but he started badly. And this Jose game number 2 on night 6 is absolutely massive. Because if he doesn't win that, he's in a lot of trouble. I just don't fancy having to go up against Peter Wright, Johnny Clayton, and Dimitri van den Berg, the way he plays on this stage, needing points, while my other players around me are perhaps picking up a point or picking up results and snatching results off of each other, because that's the way it divides up. That's an issue for me. It's a massive, massive first game back for him. We said it earlier, and I cannot overstate the importance of it any more than I am right now. But for me, lose that first night, back against the wall for James Wade.
Lee?
Similar to Dob in the thinking, but I think Rob Cross, that first game, he's run after that. I know he has Durant last, but I'm not sure a 7 will be enough. So if we are down on the basis that doesn't get a point, just on our predictions of Cross getting a win in that one, I think he needs another win, and I just can't see where he gets that other win. And it's going to be interesting. As much as Frost has looked better in this, the interesting part of Rob Frost will be if night 8, night 9, he's playing them games and there is pressure on him. If we are going to see the improvement Frost, or we are going to see him snatching at some and missing doubles. So I think Rob Frost, but I think whoever stays up will need at least 8 and lead difference to go their way, maybe even 9 points.
Ooh, interesting. I'm agreeing with.
What do you mean about Fitzbarzy?
I'm agreeing with Gob. Mate,
I wish Lee would.
Don't get me wrong.
Well, it happened then.
Don't get me wrong. It would be so James Wade for him to lose to Jose and then beat Peter Wright and Johnny Clayton. It would just be James Wade. But I just think that Jose outscores him in that first game, and that's my thing. If Jose hits doubles, I just think he completely batters Wadey off the board scoring wise, and then there's all kinds of problems. But the other question as well: will Glenn Durrant get anything from this year's Premier League, gentlemen?
I'd like to think so. I really would like to think so. Like I said, once the pressure comes off, if he can try and play with a little bit more freedom, I know easier said than done, especially when you're looking for that extra level. But the way we've looked at the rest of the fixtures is we've effectively allocated 2 points to everybody to try and work out who else goes down against Glenn. Come night 9, relegated already, playing with absolute freedom. That's a dangerous position for Rob Cross to have to go up against. The player's got absolutely nothing to lose, but the opportunity to pick up a point or two to avoid the Mark Webster. Huge opportunity there. I think he does. I'm just not sure if it'll be 2. It'll be 1.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think he gets something against Cross. Like I say, I'm not sure if it's 1 or 2, but I think he gets something there.
I think if he's getting 1, his best chances are obviously Cross night 9 or MVG night 6.
Night 6.
Yeah.
You're coming around to it, ain't you? Since I mentioned it. Since I mentioned a head-to-head record, the chance to come back into it, you're coming around to it, aren't you?
No. So I'm coming around to the point that Dozer might get something on night 6. What I'm not coming around to is that if Dozer does either beat MVG or that's a point, MVG is still safe. Even if Durant does beat him on night 6. That's my point to it. So I think Dozer can get something, but MVG will still be fine.
Hang on.
Even if he doesn't.
Judgment night, it's MVG Clayton. Judgment night is MVG Clayton. At the minute, we've effectively given Johnny Clayton the status that we're used to giving MVG the status of and Phill Taylor the status of. He's going to win. He's playing that well. We have barely touched on the ferret in the last 40 minutes. But he has been superb.
But if the fixtures stay in that order, and that is an if, look at the last time MVG went on first in this Premier League. It's the one game he went berserk.
Yeah. We'll see. There's still there. There are still a lot of possibilities and a lot of outcomes. This is by no means, this is not over. And that's what makes the next 4 nights intriguing, because in the past, especially when there's been contenders, building up to Judgment Night, this is as good as done already. Admittedly, it's weekly and you get that chance to build up tension and whatever, but by night 6 or maybe night 7, it is pretty much been done. Having 2 relegated once again means this is interested.
Just looking at it, if Rob was to beat Gary on tomorrow night, right, I genuinely don't see Gary getting anything against Michael. And against Dimitri will be tough. he could go into Judgment Night having to beat Nathan Aspinall.
Yeah.
So again, we keep going back to it, but those opening 2 games tomorrow night are going to have an absolute huge destiny in the relegation battle in this year's Premier League. In the comments as well.
If Glenn continues his record against Van Gerwen, he then goes into El Clasico in a bit of trouble. And I am here for it. Let's cause some carnage. Let's cause some carnage.
Well,
I'll buy you a Parmo, Glenn.
Let us know in the chat room who you think is going down. Big thank you to Dave. Thank you very much. We've got some good ones. Jonathan, Durrant and Cross. Daniel, Glenn and Jose. Durrant and Cross again. A lot of love for that. Before we move on, we'll just answer some questions. Jerry Jonathan says, when will the PDC announce the Pro Tours for May and June? I should imagine soon-ish. So we've got the block in Germany, which we'll obviously speak about shortly. Then there is May, I am led to believe, is a dead month for Pro Tours. There will be no Pro Tours in May. And there will be one more block in June before the match play, but dates haven't been confirmed yet, is what I think. So
sounds about right.
There, Cross won't get eliminated. Jojo, no, look, I think I've been impressed with Rob. I think he's dug in really, really well, and it's been there or thereabouts. So I agree. Having thought about all this, gentlemen, we've done the relegation. Do we think after the 9 nights, has your opinion on who qualifies for the top 4 and wins the Premier League changed?
Don't know, to be honest. I hadn't really thought about that. Maybe one spot. I had Wadey in the top 4. I had him pretty much as a straight swap when Price withdrew. That was purely off his UK Open form. He looked steady enough at the Super Series as well. Expected him to hit the ground running a little bit more than he has. Perhaps, to be fair, Dimi and Asp as well. They're both up there. I'm not sure they both stay in that top 4. I think you've got Peter knocking on the door from just below and Michael. Clayton stays in the top 4 and he will be a threat. He's the absolute only guarantee, I think.
Yeah,
for
me, the top 4, I see Johnny Clayton and MVG will be in that top 4, but predicting who's joining them is a lot more difficult now because of it. I see Peter Wright making it. And I'm just not, I wouldn't be surprised if there's one of those who comes out of, as much as we're talking about who's going down, and obviously that the first 2 games being so important, if someone that's the win in one of those 2 games and then can push on, I think someone's going to come out of that bunch and more breaking. I don't think Dimi or Asp will remain in the top 4 from the end. I think MVG, Peter Wright,
either,
and then one other from the bunch. So then, sorry?
You don't think either of them will sit in the top 4?
No, one of them.
No, I don't think either of them will. I think it'll be Johnny Clayton, MVG, Peter Wright, and Darry Anderson.
I was just thinking about him. He has an absolute knack of making the final 4 in this event, even when he's not playing well. And 5 minutes ago, we were talking about Gary needed to get a result against Nathan on the final night to stay up. And all of a sudden, it's back the other way. He's just such I'm going to use the word enigma again. He can just turn up at any moment and just find a way.
100%. That's the issue with Gary, that at any given moment, he can go berserk.
Well, the fact there's only
That's
3
what makes
points
it-
separating first and ninth just make this Premier League.
Yeah,
Yeah, 100%.
and that's
Absolutely
why,
just make this
and that's
Premier
why
League.
Dob as well with it. As much as I'm saying Gary Anderson will make the top 4, when we're speaking tomorrow night, after tomorrow night's action, if Rob Frost beats him, he's probably my favourite to go down. And that's how important tomorrow night is with those 2 players. That's the bit of the game. That is the bit of the game. I think if Anderson wins it in the confidence, he'll then push on and will make the top 4. But that's how big tomorrow is for Gary Anderson for me. But if I had to say it now, I think Anderson will be in there with Wright in replacing Asp and Dimmy.
You want to know how tight this Premier League is? As of close of play on night 6, Johnny Clayton might not be in the top 4. We're currently talking about being an absolute guarantee. Don't get me wrong, it would take a distinct set of results to do so, but it is that tight at the minute. He can go from absolutely cruising in a comfortable position at the break to being at the top 4 after one night. That's how tight this is.
Yeah,
he's
I
brilliant
think as well.
and that's why we're talking about Gary potentially being in that top 4, because he's 2 wins away from basically securing his safety at the minute.
Yeah, and Dob, with that, how tight it is, I don't think 7 points is enough to be safe. So I don't see it happening, but if Johnny Clayton doesn't get another point, for me, he goes down. I think you have to get 8 at least. That shows how tight it is at the moment, that who's in that relegation strap can change very quickly from the end of night 7. That can look very, very different.
Exactly.
I'll tell you what, this is going to be one hell of a 4 days from the Marshall Arena in Milton Keynes. That is for sure. Can't wait for Premier League action to return. We will have all the fallout online darts.com and our YouTube channel. So make sure you are subscribed. If you haven't, hit that subscribe button now because we'll have all the reaction from the winners as it happens in Milton Keynes. Now, from there, gentlemen, there was another hot topic over the weekend. We have a Super Series on the horizon in Niederhausen in Germany. But the news came out that PDC players returning from Niederhausen after the Super Series will now have to isolate at home. And since then, as of yesterday, we had at least 15 withdrawals. Am I right? That was up until yesterday.
I believe that's the number because the 15th player to get an invite is Shane McGurk. But that also may mean that players above him haven't taken up the invite that would have been in that 15. But at the minute, our estimate is that there are 15 Pro Tour card holders that will not be in Niederhausen.
Given all this, is it still remarkable that this is going on in Germany? And before, obviously, everyone jumps on, we're not saying that there shouldn't be Pro Tours in Germany, but just right now, should this be happening in Germany?
No. And I get that logistics make it difficult. It was already set in stone. The rules changed pretty late in comparison to when this event will take place. But literally in the same week as them rules changed, Germany acknowledged that Britain and the UK is no longer a COVID threat, basically. That was a statement that came from Angela Merkel and Germany. I'm absolutely by no means saying take events away from Europe, but the idea is that in the back end of the year, there are hopefully going to be some Euro Tours. There's still that ambition for there to be 6 or 7 Euro Tours, all right, albeit in a crammed, more condensed calendar. But in doing so, have a Euro Tour, have the Super Series abroad that we're now used to, then have another Euro Tour. Keep the guys there for 10 to 15 days in a block. Yes, I know it's difficult in a hotel. Yes, I know they're having to give things up. But a lot of the European players have given that up already to go through Q School, to come to the Super Series events we've had so far to contend in the UK Open, right? There needs to be some sort of balance and fairness. But right now, it is acknowledgeably safer from COVID in the UK. The perceived risk from COVID-19 in the UK right now is lower than it is in Germany. And yes, there will be a bubble. Yes, there will be testing. Yes, the event itself will be in the most secure circumstances the PDC can possibly make it, right? Given the guidance and the rules that they have to abide by. But just by traveling into a country where the risk is higher at the minute, you're putting a lot more people at risk. And unfortunately, the harsh reality is the majority of tour card holders are based in the UK, because that's where the majority of the darts is. Keep it here for now. Go back abroad later in the year.
Yeah, no, look, 100%. That's what I was about to say. You touched on it there. The issue isn't the tournament itself. It's players getting there is the issue. And Gary said, how long isolate? They have to isolate for 10 days when they get home.
Yeah. They have to have a test on day 2 and 8, I think it is.
You have to have a test before you leave Germany, and then 2 and 8.
2 and 8, or you can pay extra to release on day 5, but it's just mad.
Or you can have a test on. I think you can have a test on day 5, but you might not get the test back till you won't get the test back till some point, maybe late day 6. So it's a minimum,
and you have to pay for it.
And yeah, you have to pay for that one as well. So to get out in 6 days, it's still going to cost players a fair bit. And my next question about all this, Lee, if you're a Premier League player, knowing what's happened to Gezi, he failed a test, had no symptoms whatsoever. If you're a Premier League player, surely you can't risk travelling, because you can travel there, feel fine, and if you fail a test when you go back to Milton Keynes, the records will show you finished 8th in the Premier League. And in terms of just financials as well, you're going to Germany to potentially win 40 grand, or you can potentially win 250 in the Premier League. So do you see any of the Premier League players risking it?
I'm not sure why they would. I'm totally with Derby in regards to Germany should hold some of the events, but not this one. And with the Premier League players, I don't know why you would risk it. If you've come through 9 nights and then you're in the second part of the Premier League, for me, I'm not sure why you would then go to the Super Series. We've done the Premier League starting back up. Is it the week after?
Yeah, there's a couple. You carry on, mate. There's some questions in the chat room. I'll ask about that, and I'll answer a question in the chat room in a minute.
Yeah, that for me is just. I don't know why you would risk it. I don't know why. The money side of it, there's a lot of money to be made in the Premier League, and to then be risking your participation in the second part of that to win potentially 40,000. And that's winning all 4 events. I don't know why any 8 would. Who are the 8 who go through?
Yeah, 100%. Where was the question? Someone said about the Premier League players not having time to isolate. I think we read the government guidelines from the website, Gob, and I think that if you are isolating at home, you can travel to isolate in a secure sporting bubble for the Premier League. I'm sure that's what it was, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So the Premier League players
in that bubble, I think you're okay, but even still, if one of them,
there's something there about transferring into a bubble that would allow the Premier League players to do it if they do go. But like we were saying, it's just an absolute huge risk for these players.
Massive. Look, it's been a strange year, and it's fantastic that we've had darts back on, but ultimately health comes first, and that's consideration. They say there's a number of Premier League participants that have been a little bit vocal over the last year about travelling. One Scotsman to be more precise.
He
He's
wasn't going
definitely not
before the
going.
regulation.
No. Yeah, look, it's just an unnecessary risk to have to go and win. What is it, 28 games to win 4 Pro Tours?
Yeah.
You get 30
Yeah,
grand
look,
for
it's-
being bottom in the Premier League. Like, stick with the Premier League, put your prize money up.
One thing that will be interesting, though, is with this Super Series, that there could be some shock winners here. And there's a huge opportunity for players to play themselves into Players' Championship finals and higher up other order of merit tables. So if you're not one of these elite that doesn't go, you're thinking this could be a huge opportunity.
Yeah, massive. Huge for some of them. The absence of some of the perceived big names is an opportunity for others to come through and win Pro Tours or pick up serious ranking money as it is. The seedings will all change, jumble about on the boards, and without being disrespectful, if you're losing 15 players who we haven't got an exact list, but we can have a guess at some of them. Some of them have stated they're not travelling. The absence of them and being replaced by people that finished 13th, 14th, 15th on the Q School order of merits or the qualification criteria to bring them in now, the field's weaker. That's why the 128 have their tour cards.
Yeah. Here's one as well. If you're Gezi, do you go? Because, and the reason I ask this is if you don't, that's a long time without darts for the Iceman.
I would expect to see him
Probably. Yeah.
I would expect to see him there.
I'd expect to see him there, win, and then make some sort of smart-ass comment in an interview, as he likes to do, or on his Instagram at least.
Yeah, I wouldn't be. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if that's on day one of the Super Series, Dob.
Yeah,
I'm sure he'll have extra motivation on day one if that's the case. If we see him there and none of the Premier League and none of the current Premier League players, it will.
But at the end of the day, it will just show that
interview.
Gerwin Price was a Pro Tour Super Series winner. It will not tell you who's there. No one actually goes in and delves into the results. It will be 10 grand in his back pocket on his ranking that will keep him ticking over. Because actually, that's another point. He is still world number one. And the absence of the other guys and the opportunity for him to go and pick up 4 Super Series, not saying he's going to do the sweep for 4 days. That would literally be unthinkable. It's unheard of. But if he were to pick up 1 or 2, as we've seen people doing these blocks already, Clayton's been at the deep end, Joe Collins been at the deep end consistently, last 16s, quarterfinals, and better pretty much every day. If Gezi goes and has a run like that, including picking up 1 or 2 of the titles, he just gives himself that little bit more of a buffer on that prize money, whilst we're expecting the close contenders of his that are in the Premier League to not travel.
Yeah, 100%. People are asking in the chat room, do we know which players aren't going? I do know some, but it's not common knowledge, so I'm not going to say until the PDC release an official list. But you can work out from social media who is and who isn't. So that's the Super Series, which follows the 4 days in Milton Keynes. Right then, guys, we're going to open the chat room now. Get your questions in. We know it's a Sunday and people have family time and kids go back to school tomorrow and that, so I'm sure everyone's got lots to do. So we're going to do 20 minutes, 25 minutes of your questions. So get them in on the live lounge this evening and we will do our best to answer them as much as we can. Whilst there was one earlier about Darren Beveridge, I believe. Where were we? Talking about the Live League.
About his nickname. What are our favourite nicknames?
Yeah. Oh, but by the way, how good was the standard on the Live League last night? Oh, it's arguably the best final that we've had so far. It was unreal.
I've been very impressed with the Live League over the last few weeks, and that's without the bias of us being involved in it and having this plastered absolutely everywhere all over it. It's been very entertaining. I haven't been able to watch every single session. Some of us have work and the rest of it, but it's been sensational. The quality of it, the production of it has been class, Mr. Bars, and I tip my hat to you for that. The variation in the commentary as well, I think Mason has been superb. Paul Nicholson adds a dimension to bring in the interaction with people through social media. I absolutely love the way that he does that. And the darts has been excellent. Some common names, some less common names, some players that even I haven't heard of before have all contended and done all right.
Yeah, if we could, I would have written
that as well,
every week.
Can we have more? Can we have more Cameron Menzies talking to himself at the back of the box, please? There is never a dull moment when Cammy is on camera. Never a dull moment when he's not on camera. To be honest, if you follow his social media, it's quite funny.
Question was from Jack. Following the rise of ice cold Darren Beveridge, who, by the way, I think he's going to be a fabulous player. Really impressed with Darren Beveridge. What are the panel's personal favourite darting nicknames? Oh, interesting. Darting nicknames. What do I like? As well, boys.
There's just one lad that lives near me. His nickname's the Godfather, I think it is. It's a play on words with the Godfather and being quite vocal. I like that one.
Yeah, I don't like that much.
Jog on, Brummy. Nicknames. I like Jackpot. I like the story behind Jackpot as well. I think that's pretty entertaining.
Yeah.
I don't really know, to be honest.
To be fair, mine's more of an unofficial nickname. And Missy's just said it in the chat room. I like Dirk's Over Genius.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good question, though. I like that.
I'm struggling, you know. I don't really...
Yeah, I am.
Some of them are just obvious, like Merv King, etc. They're just play on names.
Yeah.
Voltage, Green Machine, The Asp, Dreammaker, No Thanks, Dozer, The Machine. I preferred that as 009, to be honest. That was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Tripod. I remember that one.
Yeah. Yeah, there's some interesting ones and some not ones. Oh, I'll tell you what, Jack's just come up with there, but going old school, yes, Jamie Harvey, Brave Dart. That was good. 100%.
Yeah, the Wizard's decent. I don't really know, you know. I think the machine gun is very adept for Jermaine Watermainer.
Yeah.
Yeah, in a very non-PC way.
Yeah. Rapid, Hollywood, Rockstar, the Bullet. I like the Bullet, actually.
I like the Rockstar as well.
I do and I don't, because there's no backstory behind the Rockstar, as far as I know. Is that not just one that was given to him so he had a nickname?
Don't know, but I like it.
A bit like
I liked
Hollywood.
Kevin Painters, the artist.
Yeah, that was clever.
To be fair, again, I'm a bit of a wrestling geek stroke fan, and I'd love there to be a proper bad boy and still one of the wrestling ones. Instead of the New Age Outlaws, the New Age Outlaw.
The Viking. Andy Ford, what a shout that is, Simon. Who, speaking of, is in the World Seniors. Bart, you haven't even mentioned the World Seniors.
No, well, come on. I was expecting some questions about that as well. And look, the hype around social media and these World Seniors is literally off the scale.
It is. A few more.
There's a Premier League.
Jack says, yeah,
it's all World Seniors.
I started that tangent then. Yes, completely. The old boys definitely get the buzz and the juices flowing. People want to see these. I haven't seen some of these guys play darts ever. I come to the game pretty late. Fabulous. Jack says, my missus asked yesterday, why is Phill Taylor called the Power? Anyone know? I believe this is purely from Sky. And it was when they were all his very first walk on. And it was literally the disc that they picked up as the sound tech.
100%
and it was snap
correct.
the Power and be like, oh yeah, we like that. Phill the Power Taylor. That's where that came from.
It was that. Really good documentary on Phill. It's old now, but I think it was My Sporting Heroes on Sky. They did loads of them back in the day, and Phill talks about it on there. I think it might be with Wayne, or did Wayne do Eric? I can't remember, but certainly he talks about it on one of them. If you can find them, they'll probably be on YouTube now because they're quite old. Really, really good watch. Where are we? There was some other questions. I've done Brave Dart. That chat room's on fire
Any
again tonight.
news on the challenge and the dev tours? Not at the minute. We haven't heard anything. We haven't seen anything from them. Which is,
I think just listening to Matt's interview on the Dart Show podcast with Prenders and Lloydie and everything like that, which is again very, very good. Give it a listen. You can tell that literally the PDC have got the rest of the year all mapped out. It's there. They're just waiting for milestones to be ticked off on government roadmaps before they release stuff. But listening to Matt, it's all there. It's all in place. I expect to see dev tours as long as everything goes as planned. I expect to see them July time onwards.
Yeah, because the other thing to consider is the kids. Well, people are proud of our children, so they could possibly block them for a couple more days solid. But it has to be in the summer holidays because you have to give that access to everybody. You can't expect them to take time off school. Yeah. And the other thing is testing at the minute. They're not about to try and test 16, 17, 18-year-olds. I think they're literally waiting for us to get past lockdown restrictions. As soon as we get to that final one, yes, it might be a little bit tight turnaround to start with for the first event or two, but they'll definitely take place. They need it to take place. Can't have a full year of that dev tour or challenge tour because they need these rankings for next year and that sort of thing. The UK Open qualifiers, the World Youth Champion, these events need to take place.
World spots as well are on offer. Tour cards are on offer as well. So look, July onwards, I think we'll see as much as we physically can from the sub tours. Oh, Mace is in the chat room as well. How we doing, Mace? Did you get home all right last night?
Cute.
Wow. What's that? Literally, after a week down there, it's literally just get home.
Yeah. Will asking all they join the senior league? The players that have been announced so far, the lineup, the seniors, are all former world champions. The 14 players that will be announced are former world champions over the age of 50. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, Phill, but the last two spots will be a qualifier event for over 50s.
Correct.
There is no date or set event for this, and as soon as that comes out and is released, obviously we'll try and get it to you guys. But yeah, the 14 players that are announced to begin with are all former world champions over the age of 50.
Yeah, qualifier is penciled for someone in November. No date precisely, but the qualifier looking at November time for that. Someone says another one, obviously, Rob Cross interview. Do you guys think the current players respect Mardle? I think they respect what he says, but not just in darts. This is just in general sport. Pundits and analysts have a job to do, whether that's Gary Neville and Jamie Carragher or Mark Webster and Wayne Mardle for Sky. They say what they feel and what they see. However, like in other sports, if the players don't like that or disagree with it, they also have the right to say that and come back. So neither party, Wayne or Rob, did anything wrong in that whole thing. Wayne gave his opinion. Rob didn't agree with it and gave his back. Would you agree, guys?
Yeah, and I think on the respect part of it, I think that's why there is that respect there, because Cross came out with that, but they are both just doing their job. You'll see a lot of players do it. We've seen it before. We've seen Anderson at the Worlds, and it's just something they've heard, and obviously they disagree with it, and they're well within their rights to disagree with any comments that the pundits made, but they are also there for their job as well, and to keep us entertained in between games.
Yeah, 100%. God, we've seen Jurgen Klopp disagree with what the Sky pundits have said in football, so it's no different in any sport.
We've seen them all disagree. There's been plenty of stick from players, especially when you get people as outspoken as your likes of Jamie Carragher, Gary Neville, and Roy Keane, who are three of the most go-to pundits of the moment. They will say the odd thing that players don't agree with, and the players have been given a little bit back these days. It's perfectly fine to do so. As long as it's not an insult or a slanging match, they're both there to do their jobs, and you're allowed a difference of opinion. That's what makes the world tick, basically.
Yeah, 100%. Simon asked, World Series, what TV channel it will be on? They are talking to multiple networks at the moment, so I don't know. But there's certainly a lot of interest, that's for sure. They're talking to multiple options. I just can't wait for that. I'm not going to lie. Me and Mason in the chat room, we were talking about it last night, and just the general buzz around this is just, like I said, I've never seen anything like it. There's been more talk.
I don't care if they come in and average 60
than the Premier League, and that's a fact. There's been more buzz around the World Seniors than the Premier League we signed.
Yeah, it's massive. Like I just said, I don't care if the players come in and average 60. There are just some of these guys that I really, really want to see. But I hope the standard is up there. Like, the standard is up there. The scope for it for the future gets even better.
100%. Like when Phill said in the interview that we did with him, they're building this for the future generation as well. It's not just for the here and now and the old timers that we all fell in love with once before. This is for future generations as well.
I think the players that are over 50 on tour at the minute, they've got somewhere to drop off now. In other sports, there's always a lot of talk about players retiring. They just go straight into media, or they have to find another career, because sport like football or more physically active sports, careers tend to finish a little bit early. The fact you can play so late in darts is fantastic as it is, but to give these guys an avenue to keep competing and contending and a different atmosphere or environment would be class.
Yeah, I think with the standard of that we're talking about, obviously we're not sure what to expect, but just listening to the interview that you did with Phill and his intent of how much practice he's going to put in for it, for me, will drive everyone else, because I think we are going to have Phill Taylor at a very good standard, and I don't think anyone else is going to want to go there and not be trying to match the standard. Just the intent from Phill in that interview, I think, will push every single player on who was potentially, if any was seeing this as some sort of exhibition, certainly won't be if they've heard that interview, because Phill Taylor seems to really want to go and win it, and I think it'll push everyone else to hit a very, very good standard from each and every one of them. But a lot
of them have got a very, very big score to settle with Phill Taylor.
Yeah. I'm absolutely hating the fact it's all been announced, and then it's we've got to wait for it for 8 months because I can't wait. I really want to see it now. I want to see it tomorrow. We want to see the action.
If you ask,
seeing the names coming through each day.
If you ask
I'm just being
10
greedy.
of maybe the 14 that have been announced so far, why they didn't win more in their career, they will all turn around and point at exactly the same man.
Yeah, it's not just that as well. Like you said, it's not being an exhibition. There's no appearance money. There's a prize pot, and you get whatever you finish. So the better you do, the more money you're going to win. So that's going to motivate them as well. And look, who wouldn't love to see a final variation? Phill Taylor, Richie Burnett, and Martin Adams. That's still going to be absolutely. I know it might not happen, but if you were planning a route, let's be fair, we'd all love to see Wolfie against the Power.
I think so.
Yeah. Just the draw for that and the names on the paper. He's done it at the excitement before we actually even see him on stage. The quality there, the players on with Dob. There's some of which I haven't seen much of other than watching old clips, but actually seeing them playing and I can't wait. I just can tell I'm excited. I know we've got obviously the Premier League and all the stuff with that, but I'm with you. I'm more excited at the moment. I've seen that, and it's months away, but I really can't wait.
To be fair, not just because he's in the chat room and he's a good friend, but literally forget all the other PDC darts. One of my favourite ever games, I've said it before and I'll say it again, is Mason against Adams at Lakeside in the quarterfinal. That game had everything. That's literally still to this day, even though it's not in HD or anything like that, it's still one of my favourite games for just pure darting drama.
Yeah, cannot disagree with that. I'm just having a quick look. Is there one more to be announced? I count 13 at the minute.
Possibly.
I was just going to talk everyone through the list of confirmed names at the minute. Like, just listen to this.
Do the confirmed ones.
Phill Taylor, Bob Anderson, John Lowe, Ted Hankey, Keith Deller, Dennis Priestley, Martin Adams, Andy Fordham, John Boy Walton, Wayne Warren, Richie Burnett, John Part, and Les Wallace. Mic drop. That's ridiculous. Ted Hankey
100%.
still ridiculously good. Wayne Warren, by the way, won a world title 2 years ago. Yes, he wasn't great at the Grand Slam, hadn't played a lot of competitive darts. Do not rule him out.
100%.
At all.
Absolute
it would almost be just deserved for Warren to go on and pick this title up, actually, and had some money in his back coffers that he didn't receive for the final BK World Champion.
Well worded, well worded.
Yeah, we're nowhere near our normal watershed time.
No. But like, even still, like Andy Fordham is pulling on the old heartstrings for me because fantastic player, and obviously has had his well documented health issues and etc. And has fought back and played at the Grand Slam a few years ago. Got a fantastic reception when he did. And I just love to see him throw that. I don't care if he averages 35. I just want to see him back up on stage enjoying a game of darts because I remember more about his world final than he does, and I was about 8 years old.
Yeah, he doesn't remember a thing.
No, and I just wanted to go up and enjoy it and just see the look and go on, because it's just the nostalgia in it. It just gets you going. Look at the buzz around this.
Well, even in the chat room now, people are loving it. Is the thing. Absolutely loving it. I genuinely can't wait. Like, we talk about iconic walk-ons. Can you imagine when the lights drop and we just get "Be on your way"?
Just start throwing bats at people. And then comes this white stallion of a horse.
I'm not sure we'd recreate that one. That was one of the iffy moments. But just some iconic. Someone said, "Will it be sets or legs?" No, it is going to be set play. It is going to be like the World Championship, like they all played in it. Will be set play. Don't get me wrong. We're not going to ask. I don't think they're going to be asked to go and play best of 14 sets or 15 sets, but it will be set play.
Mm-hmm. I've got a list, Phill, of people that I know is over the age of 50, right, that aren't really playing darts anymore as well. So these are guys that I have written down myself. No confirmation. Don't take anything off. But people that could participate via the qualifier, depending on the rules, right? Bobby George has ruled himself out, by the way. He is struggling with his back injury, and if he was going to play, wants to be in a position where he can actually contend. He doesn't be making up the numbers, so he's ruled himself out. And Dennis Priestley is recovering from surgery as well, so he is 50-50 to play, but at the minute he's in and committed. The list of possibilities I've got.
Same as Bobby. Before you do the list, God, Bobby will be involved in some way. Like, again, you can't have a seniors without the King of Bling.
Yeah. So the list of possible players I've got at the minute that aren't in: Paul Lim, Trina Gulliver, Ronnie Baxter, Kevin Painter, Andy Jenkins, Terry Jenkins, Darryl Fitton, Tony O'Shea, Barry Bates, Martin Phillips, the former Welsh captain. And there's more as well. I'm sure I've just added to the list. I've listed a few more in the week, but geez, it just gets so good.
Look, there's no way possible this doesn't work for me. It just,
not only that, with that list, and I'm sure there's even more names. I can't wait for qualifying, just to see some of the names on that, to get to this, and that for me will push the standard in the competition. You touched upon there Wayne Warren, who didn't have a great Grand Slam, but he's going to play more this year, I would believe, and he'll be in a better form down into that. I can't wait. I cannot wait. I can't wait to the name of who enters the qualifying, and there's going to be names who missed out, but this is something we're going to see year on year, and I just can't wait for it to start and see these players on stage, the walk-ons, on with Dob, the performance, they can throw anything, and I just can't wait to see.
Mm-hmm. And just there's so many storylines, and there's so many unsettled rivalries and stories between these guys, and just how brilliant would it be for Terry Jenkins to come through the qualifiers, who's never won a TV final, and go on to pick this title up? Just there's so many possibilities and avenues you can take this. There is so many stories you can run with this, which probably means Phill Taylor decimates the field, as he always does, and we're like, yeah, all right, well done, Phill. Whatever. But do you know what I mean? The potential at the minute for storylines, rivalries to be renewed, the preview for every game, the flashbacks you can have. It's going to be amazing.
100%. Absolute 100%. I genuinely can't wait. Someone says about John Lowe. John Lowe's in. The pictures are on social media of him signing the paperwork. Old Stoneface is in.
About Barney can't play because he's a tour card holder. No PDC tour card holders are allowed.
But like you said about this, you look at it coming to an end potentially over the next 4 or 5 years. Barney, Gary Anderson, Whitlock, Wright, Dozer,
Doran,
all over 50 already.
Steve Beaton, staying alive, going again. He will be there as well, Will, and he'll be there every year, just content to be playing darts a little bit more.
Yeah.
If I ever find job satisfaction like Steve Beaton has, I will be a very, very content man for the rest of my life.
Yeah. Ben in the chat room says Kevin Burness as well, 55 and been impressed in the Modus League. Absolutely. Iron Man's played some absolute great stuff. Prediction. Possible.
A few more
participating in the World Match Play. Look, I don't think there'll be a cross between this into a PDC major yet. Potentially one day, yes, but I don't think for a couple of years. Barry likes to see stuff proven and works before they make that kind of a thing. But could it? Yeah, 100%. Right, we have a couple more then, guys. We've waffled about everything that you love. Last couple of questions, get them in because we know it's Sunday and people have got to get ready for kids for school and everything like that. But you have been absolutely amazing in the chat room as always. So last ones in there.
I've got a few more names while we're waiting. Alan Tabben.
Yeah.
Larry Butler. Magnus Carris. Robert Thornton. Dieter Hedman. Peter Manley. Barry Bates. Andy Smith. The Pie Man. Dennis Ovens, Peter Sidewani. I know he's not old enough, sorry. Someone else wrote that in my group. It's mad. It's absolutely mad.
The Dutchman that you haven't mentioned, I'm surprised you haven't mentioned Paul Stompy. I'd love to see Paul Stompy then.
Stompy, Sholton.
Bob Anderson's in, yeah, Dave Whitcomb.
Yeah, Dave Whitcomb, yeah. It's a very, very tiny list growing. Yeah. For this to potentially expand to 32 the year after, you're not going to be disappointed with the names that are already in and the names I've just read out.
No, 100%. John O'Shea, join us in the chat room. Evening, mate. Hope you are well. Gary says, what about Bob Anderson? Bob's in. Don't worry about that. Enigmatic Joker says, hi. Jonathan says, favourite walk-on ever for me, Winnie O'Connor in Ireland. Oh, anyone would think that everyone saw my tweet yesterday when I was reminiscing about Dobie in Newcastle. Favourite walk-on ever, guys?
For me, Hendo in Scotland. I think that was the first time. Hendo in Scotland was great. But then Stem VG.
Yeah. The first one.
That was something else. Yeah, the first one. Yeah.
I don't know, I'm not sure I've got one.
One that sticks with me.
Phil's last ever walk-on was up there. Not for
I was about to say
reason,
that.
Just because of the significance of the moment.
Not for his World Championship, though. My favourite was his last one at Blackpool.
The match play. Yeah. When Peter gave him the honour, and he probably shouldn't have, because it basically gave him the match.
That was genuinely spine-tingling, that walk-on, because the Winter Gardens was his home. He's got a holiday home up that neck of the woods. He loves it up there. And that was genuinely spine-tingling. That one, the one at Blackpool. Been lucky. Willie O'Connor's in Dublin was brilliant. Dobie's in Newcastle. And I still wish I don't know if he's listening because he normally checks in sometimes. Please go back to that walk-on. Local hero. Absolutely bossed it.
Fantastic song Chris has got now. We love it. Every week we're going to get this walk on in somehow, aren't we?
Daniel says, do we think Ryan Searle will qualify for the match play? Just got the title up. He's a grand outside of the race for the match play at the moment.
I haven't even opened darts rankings today. That's how.
It will certainly play in his favour if we have no Premier League players in the next set of Super Series.
Yes, it will.
Can he?
Jack asked a good question.
Go on.
Yeah, sorry, Karen. Jack says, Phill Taylor is playing in a pool in a televised event. Is he any good? I don't know, is the short answer. I've played
no
pool
idea.
at a decent enough level before. The pool and televised events are getting better as well, by the way. The coverage on them is very, very good recently, and it's only improving. Yeah, but the short answer is we genuinely don't know. The World Seniors Twitter page was giving Phill some jip for saying congratulations to some winners the other day, saying he should be on a practice board. I was like, yeah, what about the 6 foot bays? He's got some potting to be doing as well.
No, Daniel, Ryan is 17 at the moment. If you go to dartsranking.com, it gives you a race to the match play.
He's got him at 16, eh?
17 on mine.
Yeah, 17 on mine as well.
Smith 15 and Searle 16.
I've got Evans 16.
I've got Evans 16, Searle 17, Henderson 18.
Wait a minute, I've clicked on the wrong one. That's my bad. I've clicked on last year's. My bad.
World Match Play Race 2021.
But still, yeah, he's in 16, but he's not a certainty.
Mm-hmm.
Look, there's probably 8 Pro Tours left, so 80 grand up for grabs.
Yeah.
Someone says, Mike says, can you read my question?
In the Premier League field this year, how many do you think will be in it next year? That's a good question. That is a good question.
Good question. How many do I...
Eight.
At most 6.
Green?
6.
Ooh. I think the only certainties that I would be willing to say 100%, I think would be Dimitri Vandenberg. Do you agree or not?
Yeah.
I mean, he's entertaining. He's doing all right, but it all depends where the majors go this year, doesn't it? The only certainties are the top 4. I mean, we're looking at a list of 10 at the minute. I bet we've both all just completely ignored Gezi as well. So out of the 11, I'm going to say 6 or 7. Guaranteed. That's all I'm saying. It's guaranteed.
He's defending nothing this year as well. So he's only going to go up in the rankings as well. So I think he's going to be bordering 5 or 6. Dimitri, Michael, Peter, Gezi, and Ando. I think are the only guarantees for me.
I've got Clayton in my number at the minute as well. But I'm not sure if that Masters win will get him in next year's or if he needs to do something.
This is, don't get me wrong, Johnny is, I think he might have to win something else or win this because of his world ranking at the moment, where he's outside the 16. He needs to get into that top 10 or make a final and 2 semis or something along those lines to be guaranteed. I think right now,
this year's UK Open winner goes into next year's or not, because now he's had the chance as first reserve as well. If I speak.
The only thing with that is the fact that he's in the top 4 in the world at the moment.
Yes, at the minute. Yes.
So
I'm rightly so.
That could play. Last one then. Dad says, have we got Russ and George again this week? Don't know about Russ, but I certainly know that George is there. So the rest I don't know. Oh, wait a minute. Jarlath's joined the chat room. Nice of you to join us. Have you finished playing with Thomas?
Arse.
Right, everyone. Just want to thank you for joining us on this Sunday again. So our next live lounge, we're going to put back a day this time. We're going to do it on the Tuesday night so we can review the whole Super Series as well. So it won't be on the Monday in a week. It'll be on the Tuesday night so we can review the whole Super Series on how that went down as well. Just to, Jar says it's Kirk refereeing. Yeah, so I didn't know if Ross was there, but I knew that George was. So there. Gary, don't tell him that. Missy says, can I ask about the programming? If you're quick. Super Series Live,
Live.
Yes, we will be doing the Super Series streams. Don't worry about that. We have your back covered on that.
Mm-hmm. That'll be there. We've got daily pods for the next 4 days as well. And like we said, we'll be reviewing Super Series and probably relegation. That'll be a topic on the next live lounge on the Tuesday. So yeah, that's when you'll next see us. You know what to do. Follow us, like, subscribe, do all of that business. You won't miss anything from us. And I think, Philip, that's the place to wrap it up
just
tonight.
So there we are. I just want to thank you all for joining us. It's been our pleasure spending just over an hour and a half with you as always. I've been Phill Bars, joined by Jack Gobby Garwood and Lee Boys for this week. We will see you tomorrow for everything Premier League here at Online Darts.